My name is Stefanski.
I'm a former software engineer turned entrepreneur. I've explored real estate, dabbled in options trading, I run my own photography business,
And now I'm in the wild world of automotive retail.
Even as long as my software career was, cameras and cars have always been my thing. My venture into car sales allows me to tap into that passion and enthusiasm for cars and help get people connected to and excited about their next new ride.
I'm grabbing the keys to something thrilling. Come along and let's go for a spin.
Mazda kept us all waiting on pins and needles for this SUV for far too long. But now, it's here. The 2026 model year ushers in the third generation of the Mazda CX-5, the brand's best-selling vehicle since 2014. Over 5 million CX-5s are out on the road worldwide. The second generation, running from 2017 through 2025, catapulted the CX-5 into the luxury SUV space, giving vehicles like the Lexus NX, BMW X3, and Acura RDX quite a run for the money. The third generation, even more so. The styling is completely new inside and out. The engine and transmission are carried over, abiding by the philosophy of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Mazda did update the software though, tuning it to make this new generation of the CX-5 even more fun to drive.
I am being given an opportunity to spend the night with the brand new 2026 Mazda CX-5. The car you see here is in the preferred trim, so it's right in the middle of the lineup. So it has some pretty nice features. Even on this middle trim level, you've got heated seats, heated steering wheel, so I'm gonna spend some time with it. Gonna be a little bit different than my Mazda 3. The biggest and probably most controversial and by far most radical change in the 2026 Mazda CX-5 is the touchscreen right in the middle here. On this trim, it's 12.9 inches. The Premium Plus, so the top level, will get you 15 inches. It's basically the size of a laptop. Actually, it is 15.6 inches on that trim, and that is the size of a lot of laptops. So this screen, actually, it is pretty decent. It's within reach, it's not annoying, actually pretty easy to see, and using this basically just like using an Android tablet. And your climate controls are fixed right at the bottom, as well as your volume. I mean, everything's very, very familiar because of its positioning. Heated steering wheel is in here, heated seats are in here, you can customize your widgets. That's something you can only do in park. But yeah, even though it's not physical buttons, the positioning and the fact that they are fixed, they're always here. You don't have to dive through menus to do things like changing your temperature, turning the heated seats on or off, the heated steering wheel. That's very helpful, very nice. Plus for things like volume, I have controls on the steering wheel for that. I can also set the driving mode using the steering wheel now. And of course, because the CX-5 gained 4.5 inches in length for the new generation, there's a ton of room back here. I've probably got about 8, maybe even as much as 9 or 10 inches sitting behind myself. And in the back, because of that added length, there's a couple inches of room back there. You have a longer wheelbase for a very, very steady ride. This is cavernous. Space galore. So your rear seat passengers, they'll be super happy. Starting on this trim, you've got a power liftgate. Now, if this was a Premium Plus, I'd just be able to kick under here and this would open. I wouldn't even have to touch a button. But a power liftgate on the middle trim of a car, and with this generation of the CX-5, look at that, I'm walking right under here. The liftgate opens taller, so you can get stuff in and out of here a lot easier. And Mazda includes an accessory new for this year. There would actually be a puddle light you could put right up here. It's available for, I think it's $185 if I remember correctly. That'll illuminate the ground around you here and even the inside. So really safe loading and unloading, even if it's dark outside. Yeah, I mean, it's not the most comfortable, but hey, I fit back here. There's actually a ton of space back here. I've got my gear in here, transferring this out of my Mazda 3 because I'm taking this car home for the night. But lots and lots of room back here. Again, that added extra couple of inches makes a world of difference. And this one includes the privacy cover, so you can keep all your belongings safe and protected here.
The bold styling up front is inspired by the helmets worn by ancient Japanese warriors. You see this coming at you? Your reaction is going to be a definite wow. Also up front, if you look really closely at the headlights, you'll see a small red tab inside near the top. That's a little Easter egg. Number 5 for the Mazda CX-5. With the debut of the Mazda CX-50 in 2023, it was initially looking like the CX-5's days were numbered. However, demographics were so different among CX-5 versus CX-50 buyers, the case was made to keep both SUVs in the lineup. The 2026 CX-5 has grown a bit from the previous generation, so the size gap is closed a little bit when it comes to length between the CX-5 and CX-50, but the CX-50 is still the sportier, more rugged, and more wagon-like SUV, riding on the same platform as the current generation Mazda 3, while the CX-5 is solidly in the traditional, more city-friendly, more luxury-oriented spot in this segment of SUVs. The 2026 CX-5 gains 4.5 inches in length, an inch in height, and half an inch in width in this new generation. That translates to a longer wheelbase, more room for rear seat passengers, more cargo room, and an even more planted ride. And with the 2026 model year being the first time a panoramic sunroof has ever been available on the Mazda CX-5, That extra headroom is very much appreciated, especially by taller occupants. The CX-5 is easy to get in and out of, rides and handles well, delivers a very plush ride in a quiet, comfortable cabin, and really makes quite the statement in a market otherwise dominated by kind of plain vanilla SUVs that have generic styling, basic utility, cheap gray plastic everywhere, and dull driving experiences.
Normally we don't do demos, but because this is a brand new model, Hall decided, let's pass the CX-5 around to the sales staff. So it was my turn to take home this 2026 Mazda CX-5 Preferred. It is the black paint with the black interior. Seats are leatherette and micro suede. Inside of this is the 12.9-inch touchscreen, since this is the Preferred. Driving this home last night, I was pretty impressed with it. It's amazingly quiet and smooth. The ride really is actually very plush. And interacting with the screen, really not that difficult. It takes a little bit of getting used to. As a former software engineer with UI UX experience, I think it would have been a little bit nicer to have the elements, especially for your climate controls, a little bit larger. If you don't touch it exactly in the right spot, then you're not having the change happen that you need to. With physical buttons, obviously, doesn't matter where on the button your finger lands. When you push a button, you push a button. So with the touchscreen, a little bit of a tweak there, just to make it that much more forgiving, a little bit easier. But otherwise, it's very straightforward. It is really nice having the climate controls fixed along the bottom of the screen, basically like it would be where there's still buttons.
All trim levels also have Google built-in standard, enabling Mazda connected services or tethering to a Wi-Fi hotspot, and then connecting a Google account to your driver profile will allow you to take full advantage of all that the new infotainment system has to offer.
Driving this is definitely very different than the previous generation of the CX-5. And one of the biggest things that people are going to really be focusing on during their test drives, I think, is, can I actually make it with the naturally aspirated 187 horses, 186 pound-feet of torque? Because there's no turbo anymore. If you need the turbo, if you need the extra speed, the power, the towing capabilities, the Mazda CX-50 still has the turbo, making 227 horsepower with regular fuel, 310 pound-feet of torque, or 256 horsepower, 320 pound-feet of torque if you were to give it premium. For city driving, yeah, this is adequate. Merging onto the interstate, I found that putting this into sport mode helps. It's not a complete replacement for the lack of a turbo, but it does make a little bit of a difference. So because Mazda does still offer the CX-50 and the CX-5 right alongside each other, what are the key differences? Why would you choose a CX-5 over a CX-50? CX-5 has a lot of interior space. CX-50 has a lot of cargo space. CX-5 is taller, so there's a lot of headroom in here, and in the back row, tons of knee room. And that's because this car got longer by 4.5 inches. So you've got 2 extra inches of knee room, 2 extra inches of cargo room. The CX-50 is sportier, it's a little more rugged, and it feels that way when it drives. This is definitely the luxury vehicle. It is super plush, especially when you compare it against the CX-50. This is a very, very, very plush ride. It's really smooth, it's really quiet. Why spend the money on a Lexus or a BMW or a Mercedes? And this vehicle, the CX-5, in its top tier levels, the premium and the premium plus, with the full genuine leather interior, especially with the tan leather interior, that's a phenomenal car. So with this generation of the Mazda CX-5, they're really closing that gap between themselves, Mazda, and the heavy-hitting luxury brands. On paper, the CX-5 goes from 0 to 60 in 9 seconds. Yes, the generation before this did the 0 to 60 run in 8. And yes, the CX-50 with the turbo can do it in like 5.5 seconds. Getting up to speed, merging onto a highway is fine. Like I mentioned, the sport mode helps with that. Getting around in the city, there's ample power. I would not be concerned about that time. Going from 0 to 35, I mean, especially when you've got cars in front of you, you're all right. It really does feel like a luxury car, though. No, you're not getting BMW power, but you're getting a ride that is immensely smooth, an interior that is very high-tech, a ton of standard safety features that are often optional when you get into those bigger name, prestigious brands.
Standard on all CX-5s, yes, all, even the base model, is a suite of safety tech that includes radar cruise control with speed limit assist, traffic sign recognition, smart brake support for both the front and the back with rear cross traffic alert and pedestrian detection, forward turn across traffic braking, which kicks in if you're making a turn across a lane of oncoming traffic, emergency lane keeping, blind spot monitoring, and front and rear parking sensors. On the Premium Plus, you'll get adaptive front lighting, which moves the headlights as you steer the vehicle, front cross traffic alert and braking, cruising and traffic support with lane change assist, and a 360 monitor with underfloor view. Yes, there is a camera underneath the CX-5 Premium Plus, so it's really as though you can see right through it as you're in the 360 views. And lane change assist does exactly what you think it would. On a multi-lane highway, the CX-5 can change lanes after enabling the turn signal for the adjacent lane you'd like to get into.
But otherwise, this keeps up. This does fine on the highway. It really does shine on the city streets. This is made for a more urban environment. When Mazda put out their official marketing materials for the new CX-5, they said that this was aimed at the versatile mover. If you get into what that actually means, it can be just about anybody. But the target segment for the CX-5 is active families, people who like to go on road trips, The kids have extracurricular stuff. People who go places and do things pretty regularly in and around the city. If you're, again, into more of the outdoorsy, off-roading kind of stuff, that's where the CX-50 comes into play. These are actually two very different vehicles. Even though they technically occupy the same segment, believe it or not, compact SUV, even with their size, there are significant differences between the CX-50 and CX-5. And then getting back to the CX-5 specifically, this is going up against Honda CR-V, Toyota RAV4, Lexus NX, Acura RDX. This is going to be far more luxurious than your Honda, your Toyota, your Hyundai. It's more on par with the Acura, the Lexus. And as you get into the higher trims, BMW, Mercedes, Volvo.
If you're in a Premium or Premium Plus, you'll have ambient lighting that can be configured in the vehicle settings. You can go in there and change the color and brightness.
And even with the focus on a quiet, plush ride, a luxurious experience behind the wheel, a comfortable cabin for everybody, driver and passengers, it's still an engaging experience. It's still fun. It's definitely still a Mazda. Compared to those other more mainstream SUVs, going to be a little bit louder, going to be a little bit rougher. Some of them are available as hybrids. This will be available as a hybrid eventually. Not yet. Currently, Mazda still offers a hybrid in the form of the CX-50 using Toyota's tried and true system. In those mainstream hybrid SUVs, you are sacrificing the luxury for MPGs. And in some of those cases, you're also foregoing all-wheel drive. Front-wheel drive is always more fuel efficient than all-wheel drive. That's nothing new. But Mazda's iActive all-wheel drive, which comes standard on not just the CX-5, but all of Mazda's SUVs, is a very intelligent system, and it's very efficient. So I've put on about 30 miles in total so far in the time that I have had this car for myself, and my fuel range has gone from 260 miles to 250 miles. If I look at my efficiency widget over here on the touchscreen, 25 is what this car is getting. So, oh, now it just went up to 25.1. And that sounds about right for the mix of driving that I have thrown at this car in the time that I have had it, to be getting an average of about 25 miles per gallon seems right. I've done some city, I've done some highway, there's been some traffic, and 26 miles per gallon combined is what the EPA rates the CX-5 for. So it's right in line with that. And there are a lot of luxury SUVs that actually score a little bit worse fuel economy than this. If Mazda really does make a hybrid version of this, that's only going to be helping on that front, especially if they stick to the same formula that they're using for this. If they're able to still deliver a plush, smooth, quiet, yet still engaging, fun drive out of a hybrid, great. The CX-50 hybrid, yes, it's using Toyota's hybrid tech, is still fun to drive. It's very engaging. It's not as quiet and as smooth as this, but as far as CX-50s go and a lot of other SUVs in general, that formula is working pretty well in the CX-50 hybrid, so I would expect to see the same kind of results for a potential future CX-5 hybrid. Obviously, everything about the CX-5 hybrid is just speculation right now. We won't actually know what happens with that until it happens. Visibility is really good. I've got ample glass, again with that extra height. Windows are very big, very tall. The mirrors are good. The view out the back is great. It's not too narrow or obstructed or anything like that. The ride is incredibly smooth. This road is a little rough, but it's doing such a good job of soaking up the bumps. I'm pretty impressed. Again, the key differentiator with the Mazda CX-5, luxury, plush, quiet, smooth. I think if you're trying to decide whether the CX-5 is right for you or not, if you prioritize a comfortable commute, if you have a drive to and from the office every day in rush hour, whether that's on the highway or whether that's city streets or whether that's both, if you need to have the most comfortable ride that you can possibly get, but still at an affordable price, that's the CX-5. I think that if you are driving this as a daily, and then maybe you have a fun car like a Miata as a second car, you'll be pretty happy. The way this rides, the way the handling is, this is all about calm, comfort, being relaxed, but it's very balanced. You're not so laid back that it just becomes sleepy or dull. If you've got the right kind of commute for this, phenomenal. I really do think that it still holds true that this naturally aspirated engine is going to be very sufficient for most people's needs, especially among people who would otherwise be buying an SUV in this segment. Will there be a lot of conquest from those luxury brands? People making the jump from Lexus to Mazda, Mercedes to Mazda, BMW to Mazda, Acura to Mazda. There will probably be some for sure. There will probably be a lot more Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, Ford, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge going to Mazda. And from what I've experienced, none of the domestic automakers here in the States make anything that is anywhere close to this from a mainstream brand. This isn't meant to compete against your Jeep Wrangler, because you're not going to take this rock crawling. This isn't meant to compete against the SUVs from Aston Martin or Lamborghini. And even though the Mazda CX-30 and Ferrari's SUV, they look so similar, no, this is not meant to be taking on those. It still is definitely a Mazda. Make no mistake about that. It is a Mazda. So I'm in some back-to-back stoplights right now. And my average fuel economy managed to make it up to 27.1 miles per gallon. So to be getting 27 miles per gallon from mixed driving in a luxury SUV in the $35,000 to $40,000 price range, can't really complain about that. This is nice. This is really, really nice. Very, very, very incredibly smooth, plush, quiet ride. Lots of room in here for passengers, lots of room in the trunk for cargo. This is definitely a family-friendly SUV. This is definitely a road trip-friendly SUV. This is a city cruiser. This is a commuter car. This is a wonderful daily driver. It's not a weekend toy. But the way this car still drives, you can tell that it was made by an automaker who does have a weekend toy in the lineup. The best way to experience the 2026 Mazda CX-5, this all-new third generation model, is to drive it. You have to get into this seat and actually experience it for yourself. Using the tech, the feel of the engine, the feel of the ride and the handling, and the composure and the balance of the car. There it is. All right, well, guess it's time to pass these on to the next one. And go back to my daily driver, my Mazda 3. But hey, this is impressive. I actually really like it. They did pretty well with this. Mazda's engineers know what they're doing. They made a quiet, comfortable ride. It's a little bit slower, yes. It's not the quickest thing in the world. But it's very nice. I would actually love to commute in this daily. I would love to take a family road trip in this. I'm not kidding when I say that Mazda managed to make a luxury SUV that can steal some attention away from those big name brands, BMW, Lexus, Mercedes. You're not paying for a prestigious badge on this. You're getting what you actually want for the money. So, good job, Mazda.
That's the new third generation Mazda CX-5. 2026 is the year Mazda's best-selling vehicle got one of the most radical updates in the Japanese automaker's modern era. It's an impressive SUV that's really an incredible value compared to the prestigious luxury heavyweights it now rivals even more closely than before. Those automakers force you to pay for the badge. Mazda gives drivers what they want for the money they're putting up. Even in the preferred trim, right in the middle of the range, you're getting the power adjustable driver's seat with 2-position memory, heated seats, heated steering wheel, active driving display projected on the windshield, an auto-dimming rear view mirror, and a power liftgate. That's on a $35,000 SUV. The cheapest spec Lexus NX is similarly equipped, but is going to run you about $47,000. The Acura RDX starts at $45,000 and doesn't even have a heated steering wheel. And while the BMW X3 starts out with equipment that's more in line with the CX-5's top tier models, even a Premium Plus, the top of the line model, is only going to be around $42,000. Quite a bit less than the BMW's $51,000 starting MSRP. You're getting luxury, you're getting fun, you're getting a ton of practicality, and you're still getting the best of the best in quality and reliability. It is not your ordinary vanilla SUV. The CX-5 is the furthest thing from a mere appliance. Driving a Mazda CX-5 is truly an experience.
If you or anybody you know happen to be in the market for a new car, come and see me, Isaac Stefanski, down at Hall Mazda Volkswagen on Blue Mound Road in Brookfield, Wisconsin. New, used, certified pre-owned, I'll connect you with your brand new ride.